All right, deep divers, welcome back. Hit that like button if you're ready for today's deep dive.
Always ready.
We're going to be looking at some recent political events and controversies.
Ooh, sounds juicy.
It is. We've got two articles here from the Daily Beast, and they're both talking about the same event. Comedian Tony Hinchcliffe made some jokes at a Donald Trump rally.
Oh, I heard about this.
Yeah, so the jokes were about Puerto Ricans, and
Oh boy.
yeah, you know, it's complicated because Hinchcliffe's whole style is like this roast comedy. You know,
Right. Push the boundaries.
yeah, but he's doing it at a Trump rally, and Trump himself has a pretty controversial history when it comes to Puerto Rico.
Definitely a sensitive topic.
Yeah, so these articles are looking at the fallout from these jokes, and then, Robert F. Kennedy Jr. steps into the fray.
No kidding. What's he got to say about it?
Well, he's friends with Hinchcliffe, so he tries to defend him as a comedian, you know, just doing his thing.
Comedian's gonna comment?
Exactly. But at the same time, RFK Jr. is trying to, you know, be sensitive to the Puerto Rican community and not alienate Latino voters.
He's walking a tightrope for sure.
Big time. So we're going to dive into all of this and see what we can untangle.
Let's get into it.
So to set the scene, Hinchcliffe, you know, he's this comedian known for his roast style, like we said. And
Yeah, no holds barred kind of humor.
right, and he makes these jokes about Puerto Ricans at this Trump rally.
Which is already, like you said, a very charged environment.
Totally.
Yeah.
And, you know, it's not just about the jokes themselves. It's the context of Trump's own history with the island.
Right, like Hurricane Maria and the whole, delayed aid and the comments Trump made.
Yeah, it wasn't a good look.
Not at all. So that's the backdrop for all of this.
Exactly. And then RFK Jr. comes out with this statement on defending Hinchcliffe.
Trying to smooth things over, I imagine.
Oh, yeah. He's saying Hinchcliffe is just pushing boundaries like a comedian should.
But also acknowledging that it might have been hurtful to some people.
Exactly. So he's trying to play both sides.
It's a delicate balancing act, for sure.
He's trying to appeal to Trump's base, who probably love the edgy humor.
Right.
But he also doesn't want to completely alienate Latino voters.
Makes sense strategically.
Totally.
Yeah.
And it's like he knows it's a tricky situation because in his statement, he even says something like, I knew this would hurt my Puerto Rican friends.
Wow. So he was aware of the potential for harm.
Yeah, seems like it. Which makes you wonder, you know, why not just advise Hinchcliffe against it?
Right, if you know it's going to cause pain.
Yeah, it's a good question. It speaks to the responsibility that comedians have, especially when they're performing in such a politically charged environment.
Absolutely. There are consequences to words.
For sure. And it gets even more complicated from here. RFK Jr. doesn't just defend Hinchcliffe. He also starts pointing fingers.
Uh-oh. Who's he playing?
He goes after DNC strategists and the media.
Classic deflection tactic.
Maybe. He's claiming that they're manipulating the story, trying to make the rally look like a right-wing Nazi hate fest.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Strong words.
Right. So is he just deflecting, or is there something to what he's saying?
It's a good question. It makes us think about the role of the media and how much power they really have to shape public perception.
Totally. And then he goes on to say that no U.S. president has done more for Puerto Rico than Trump.
Hold on, wait a minute. Really?
Yeah, that's what he said.
That's a bold claim, considering everything we just talked about.
Right. It doesn't really line up with the historical facts, does it?
Not really. It makes you wonder what RFK Jr. is trying to achieve here.
Yeah. What does this say about Trump's actual relationship with the Latino community?
And how might this whole controversy affect his standing with those voters?
These are all questions we're going to be exploring in this deep dive, so stay tuned.
So RFK Jr. is trying to say that Hinchcliffe was making fun of the exploitation of Puerto Rico, not the people themselves.
Right, like he was going after the corporations and the politicians.
Yeah, he says the joke was targeting the garbage of the system.
But even if that was the intention, does it really matter?
That's the question, isn't it? Can you separate the joke from the harm it might cause?
Especially in this context, right?
Yeah, I mean, a Trump rally?
Exactly. It's not exactly known for being nuanced.
It's more like an echo chamber where things get amplified.
And let's be real, Trump himself hasn't exactly been a champion for Puerto Rico.
Oh, yeah. Remember his comments after Hurricane Maria?
And the whole thing about wanting to trade Puerto Rico for Greenland?
Oh, gosh. Yeah, that was wild.
It just feeds into this perception that he doesn't really care about the island or its people.
So when RFK Jr. says Trump has done more for Puerto Rico than any other president,
it just sounds so out of touch.
he does bring up the endorsement from Zoraida Buxo, the shadow senator.
Right, but one endorsement doesn't erase everything else.
Exactly. You got to look at the bigger picture.
The policies, the actions,
Yeah.
the overall treatment of Puerto Rico under Trump's administration.
And there's one thing that RFK Jr. conveniently leaves out.
What's that?
The Justice Department accused Trump of discriminating against Puerto Ricans and black renters back in the 70s.
Oh, wow. He doesn't mention that at all.
Nope. Which kind of contradicts his whole claim that Trump has always appreciated the economic contributions of Puerto Ricans in New York.
So he's definitely cherry-picking the facts to fit his narrative.
It's a classic political move.
Control the information, control the story.
But the thing is, people can fact-check this stuff now.
Right. The internet makes it a lot harder to get away with that kind of spin.
So it really highlights the importance of critical thinking.
Absolutely. We can't just believe everything we hear.
Especially when it comes to politics.
We need to question things, do our own research.
Look for different perspectives.
So let's bring it back to Hinchcliffe and his jokes for a second.
Okay.
This whole thing raises a big question about comedy and where we draw the line.
Yeah, like when does humor become offensive?
Is it ever okay to joke about sensitive topics?
Some people think comedy should push boundaries, make people uncomfortable.
Right. Like hold up a mirror to society.
But words can also cause real harm.
Even if the intention is good.
Jokes can reinforce stereotypes and prejudice.
And the platform matters, too.
Oh, definitely. A Trump rally is not exactly a neutral space.
It's already charged with a certain ideology.
So how should we approach offensive humor, then?
I think it starts with awareness.
Being conscious of the context, the comedian's intent, the impact on the audience.
We can't just laugh blindly.
We have to think critically about what we're hearing.
And be willing to have those tough conversations about where the line is.
To challenge our own assumptions and biases.
And listen to perspectives that are different from our own. It's tough, right?
Yeah.
Like, where do you draw that line?
Yeah, it's a real minefield.
You don't want to shut down free speech.
Right, but you also don't want to give a platform to hate.
So how do we find that balance?
I think it starts with being aware of the power of words.
Yeah, words can have a huge impact.
They can hurt, they can inspire, they can change the world.
And in the context of politics, that power is amplified.
Absolutely. Because political speech can have real-world consequences.
It can influence elections, it can shape policies, it can even lead to violence.
So we have to be really careful about the words we use.
And the words we tolerate from others.
It's not just about what we say, it's about what we allow to be said.
So when we see something that's offensive,
we have a responsibility to speak up.
To challenge it, to call it out.
Because silence can be interpreted as agreement.
And that can be dangerous.
Especially in a time when misinformation and hate speech are so prevalent online.
We have to be vigilant. We have to be critical thinkers.
We have to be willing to have those difficult conversations.
Even when it's uncomfortable.
Because the stakes are high.
The future of our democracy might depend on it.
So let's all commit to using our words wisely.
To building each other up instead of tearing each other down.
To promoting understanding and empathy.
And to creating a more just and equitable world.
All right, deep divers, that's going to do it for this episode.
We hope you found it thought-provoking.
Maybe even a little bit challenging.
If you did, be sure to hit that like button.
And subscribe to our channel for more deep dives into the news.
And let us know your thoughts in the comments.
We love hearing from you.
Until next time, stay curious, stay informed, and most importantly, stay engaged.